So in top-down parser, it helps to select appropriate production rule during the parsing. So that is called as a parsing decision. And in bottom-up parsing, these look-aheads, maybe first and follow items, are used to do the panic mode recovery. That is, panic mode recovery is one of the mechanism of detecting and correcting errors that we are going to see. So the working of panic mode in a top-down parser and bottom-up parser, that is different, that we shall see in a next minute. Now say this is example, this is again SIB-only example. Only 3 non-terminals are there. First we have to compute first and follow set, then we have to construct the parsing table. So it is very easy. So first off, yes, we can directly compute because small a is the beginning symbol. First of A, C and epsilon. First of B, capital B, T and epsilon. That's it. Then you have to compute follow up, yes. So as per rule number 0 in a green box, you can just add a dollar symbol. Now you have to compute follow up A. Now follow up A means, see rule number 1. Here, yes is giving you small a, capital A, B. So after A, there is a capital B and small b in first rule. So you can use it wisely to generate follow up A items. Like this. So production rule number 1 is giving you this. So follow up B can be easily computed like this. First of capital B, small b minus epsilon, and then remaining term, that is alpha, B, capital B and beta. So this is first of B, small b. Actually first of small b, normally we compute follow or first of capital letters, non-terminals. But assume that it is a string. So string can contain terminals as well as non-terminals. So if you use such a bifurcation, then there are very less chances to make any mistake. So first of capital B, B is giving you D epsilon minus epsilon. First of B means B is a small letter terminal. So first of B itself. So BD is there in follow up A. So just immediately write it to the table, yellow table. Now follow up B is there. Now see again production rule number 1 that yes is giving you A, B, B. So small b is following capital B in first production rule. So apply same rule. First of B minus epsilon, that is there, and after that there is nothing. So you will get ultimately small b as a follow up B. And just by observing the production rules, you can easily understand what is follow and what is first. So for example, here small b is following after capital B, so ultimately follow up B will be there. But there are some designs of some grammars, they are complicated. So it is not simply, you cannot compute the first and follow just by observing, watching the production rules, who follows whom. So we have to use this algorithm, first and follow algorithms, to compute correct set. So we have generated all the first and follow items. Now we have to generate the parsing table. So it is again very easy. See, you just map directly the productions, right hand side of the non-terminals, into the parsing table in blue. With first map the first atoms, A, C epsilon, D epsilon, and respective left hand side of that production rule. So for example, A, yes is giving you A. So you have to map this, yes, A, B, B. A is giving C. So map AC, like, then BD is there, map BD in blue. Why blue? Just it is for understanding because we are mapping first. The rule is that if first set contains epsilon, then we have to map follow atoms. Otherwise, there is no need to map follow atoms. So for example, here A and B contains epsilon in first set. So in A also we have to map B, D with red color. And in B, we have to map B. So because A and B both has two alternative production rules. There might be 3, 4, and 5. It depends. You have to choose wisely follow atoms and their production rules. So here we have mapped them. For example, A is giving you epsilon, B is giving you epsilon. We have mapped these rules with follow atoms. So B and D in A and only B in a non-terminal last row, that is. So in this way we have generated. Now see, the remaining cells are blank. So put their dash. We shall see this is very important. Why? Because these blanks are telling you the error situations in the given statement, token string. The error situation can be anything. It may be missing of column or something wrong writing of the statement. So that we shall see what is the meaning of synchronous, error, or function. So we have to put some functions. So when there is a reference during parsing to this, see, this is a matrix, MA, M, capital A and small a. So when we refer during parsing, and if we refer a blank entry, then we may invoke some function. It may be synchronous or some error function, and it will take some action for that particular error. Again, I say request user Firefox, visit this IP address, FTP, type FTP, and download the practical material. See the notes. There is a practical list that is older list. I will be modifying that list later. Download the video lectures. There is a one folder, video lectures. All videos are there. Or even you can visit this YouTube channel and you can download them and you can watch them. I will be telling you about PuTTY and WinSCP later, but from your side, you just Google it, do YouTube videos, learn what is a PuTTY and WinSCP, how to use it. Now we know what is a LL1 grammar. LL1 grammar is simply a grammar who has right-hand side, all right-hand side production rules start with different symbols. Unique start is there in the beginning of the right-hand side of all the production rules. But there are two cases we can use them and we can justify a given grammar is LL1. So this is a standard definition given in book. You refer the book. LL1 grammar is a grammar if there is some production rule like A giving alpha and beta. So alpha can be string of terminals and non-terminals. Beta can be string of terminals, non-terminals, or both. So if you compute first of alpha and first of beta, and you get two sets. And if you make, so if your sets are disjoint, then we can say that given grammar is a LL1 grammar. So just read it. I will be again telling you what is giving you an idea how to visualize it in simpler way. So a beta can be there. See step number 3, which is generating epsilon somewhere. So we have to map that follow. So beta, if beta is generating epsilon, then alpha does not derive any string beginning with a terminal in follow of A. Likewise, if alpha is generating epsilon, then beta does not derive any string beginning with a terminal in follow of A. So this is logic. let us see in different way. We are interpreting in this slide. See case 1. A grammar is LL1 if it follows some conditions. First is that a grammar is it should not be ambiguous grammar. Second is that it should not have left recursive production rules. Third is that it should be left factor. It should not have left factoring. Left factoring, we know, you just refer. That's why I told you have to refer particular PPTs again to understand what is left factoring and left recursion. So if these three situations are there, then given grammar is not LL1 grammar. This is the ulta definition, reverse of definition. So a grammar whose predictive parsing table contains no multiple entries is called as a LL1 grammar. See, if we construct a predictive parsing table for a given grammar, and if a table contains unique entries or blank entries, but there is no double entry, we shall see what is that. See, whatever we have seen the tables up till now, parsing tables, all tables contain only one production rule in one box, or nothing in that box. So that grammar could be called as a LL1 grammar. You see, actually to test given grammar is LL1, it is very hard. It is not that much simple, because we are considering only simple minimum number of production rules examples with pre-production rules. So it seems very easy, but if just imagine that if you have grammar with 100 not terminals and 500 right-hand side alternative production rules, then it is very hard to generate, to guess whether given grammar is really LL1 or not. So one means that there is a one look ahead. We have seen that. So let us take this. This is another interpretation. If there is a grammar like this, VTPS, and has a production rule like this, A, alpha, and beta, then first of alpha intersection full stop beta should be phi, means empty. So this is first condition. And second is that if first of beta contains epsilon, see, this is very important. If first of beta contains epsilon and first of alpha do not contain epsilon, or take vice versa. If first of alpha contains epsilon and first of beta do not contains epsilon, so you have to do this vice versa, means reverse flip. Then first of alpha intersection follow of A should be phi, means empty. So these two conditions are there, which are very important. So if a particular grammar production rules follow these conditions, then we can say given grammar is LL1 type. So this is another interpretation. So I hope you got this. Now let us understand what are the advantages and disadvantages of top-down parsers. So in top-down parsers, just I told you that we are just talking about the predictive parsers, non-recursive predictive parsers. So advantage of table-driven parser is that it is small and fast. We have seen the recursive descent parser. See, try to learn what are the advantages and disadvantages of RDP, recursive descent parser. We have seen, just go through the previous slides. So see, if someone asks you what is a recursive predictive parser, it means that it is a table-less parser, predictive parser, but recursive. So there what we do, we have grammar, LL1 grammar, and we just directly code that production rules in terms of some algorithm. So just you can say that we are simulating the grammar rules. So that is called as a recursive predictive parser. And the parser with table is called as a non-recursive predictive parser. So it is small and fast. Disadvantage, it is hard to debug if errors are there. So it means that top-down parser, typically predictive parsers have less ability to handle errors, different types of errors. That's why we switch to the bottom-up parsers. Bottom-up parsers has enhanced facility of tackling different types of errors. Now, last time I have given you these two examples. So I suggest that you just send me a photo of your notebook on my personal WhatsApp. Just show the moves of the predictive parser on these three strings. So just this is assignment. Definitely there will be some weightage for it. So please circulate this message among all the students. So I'll be waiting. Now let us see. So this is a theoretical part, error recovery in the predictive parsers. And here you have to imagine. So nobody will ask you in exam that how it is exactly done in terms of like. So it is a theoretical concept. So actually error recovery methods and techniques are there. Means detection and recovery methods are there, like panic mode recovery, phase level recovery, erroneous production, and global correction. These are the 4 methods are there. I suggest you that you refer the Unit 1 Part 10 PPT and refer the slide 20 to 24, means 4 slides are there. And there is a discussion of same techniques, but on first level, that is a lexical analysis. Lexical errors are related with the spelling errors, you are printing printf statement in capital letters, or you are printing some mistake. See, if there is a if is a keyword, and if you are typing fi ulta, that is called as a lexical error. Means lexical analyzer recognizes only keywords, valid keywords. If then else begin switch, like for while, so all are these keywords. तो इसमें अगर कुछ गड़बड़ होती है, so that is a lexical error. And if there is something related with spelling or some lowercase capital, like, or forgetting of some letter in that spelling, that is called as a lexical error. But syntax error is different. Syntax error works on statement level or a block level. So syntax, that's why syntax level is called as a grammatical level, grammar level, and lexical is word level, keyword level. So let us see this theory. We know that predictive parser performs leftmost derivation during the parsing. If the given statement token of strings is valid or invalid, test it. If we do the successful, then it is a valid. If it is not successful for parsing, it is invalid. It means successful means generation of the syntax tree or parse tree. The error is detected when the top of the symbol in the TOS, that is top of stack, does not match with the input buffer, because there is some pointer pointing to some cell in that buffer. So we match top of the stack as well as input buffer, and we refer the matrix MXA. So this is parsing table matrix. And if there is no match in that table, then we say that it is error, right? So let us think that if X is a non-terminal, and during parsing you are referring to that during the push and pop operations, moving the pointers, and on some place you are referring particular non-terminal, say X, then you refer the parsing table. And in that parsing table, there is no entry or there is no production rule in that box when you refer. So that is called as a syntax error. But what error? We don't know that we don't know whether you are missing some delimiter or like. But this thing is called as an error. So let us visualize this in this way. So let us see how this thing is tackled. Means when you refer the parsing table and you don't find some entry, then how you tackle? So the method is called as a panic mode recovery. In this method, what we do, we just ignore the reference in that table and just we move the pointer one place ahead, like that. I will be showing you slide. Just read it. When a parser encounters an error anywhere in the statement, it ignores the rest of the statement. Means जहां पे error आया उसके बाद का जो part है वो statement का, that is ignored until, see, what is program? Program is a statements, instructions. You can visualize program in terms of blocks: begin, end block, if, else, if then else block, if then else again, means if then else and if then. These are the two things, right? Or there can be if then else, like, or and if, like this. So block is there. There might be multiple ifs, else, if and else statements. So that thing is called as a block. So if there is some error in that block or in that statement, so we ignore the remaining input string tokens until the some delimiter, like a semicolon or colon or something like a dollar or some symbol or some full stop somewhere. So by not processing input from that erroneous input to the delimiter, such as semicolon, this is the easiest way to error recovery, and also it prevents the parser from going into infinite loop. So this is a simple method. Now just visualize, as I told you, there is a buffer, input buffer, there is a stack, some symbols, maybe terminals or non-terminals are there on the top of the stack. We do the matching TOS with the pointer, forward pointer, and depending on matching, we refer the parsing table MA, and then we do operation, maybe push or a pop, or we may move the pointer one place ahead. So in this situation, only two types of mechanisms like panic mode recovery and phrase level recovery works. So let us visualize this in more clear way. Let us imagine we have gone through this example. This is a move or traces of expression grammar, and we are trying to parse a statement ID plus ID. Now see the beginning. Here, this statement is grammatically wrong because plus is there, ID is there, star is there, plus is there, ID is there. See, so multiple operators are there and only two operands are there. We know that between two operands, there should be only one operator. So this is an error situation. Now, just visualize that grammar. We have already seen this grammar. We have already constructed a parsing table for this grammar. So this is a parsing table. Now see, there are some entries which are blank, and there are some entries where production rules are there. So in this situation, if, see here line first, E is on the top of the stack and plus is on the input buffer, pointed by the input buffer. So E and plus, there is nothing. There is a blue line is there. I don't know whether you are able to see it or not, but the people, I suggest you download this and then enlarge it and see. But people with desktop might be able to see this. Anyway, so this is an error situation because there is no entry in the matrix. So what is happening? as per this panic mode recovery strategy, we are just moving one place ahead. So error, skip one cell ahead. And how it is done? It is done here by adding some rule or some function in that blank table. You can call it as a sync sync. It is a function or some error function. So that error function will be called and it will do that operation like skipping or ignoring that particular entry and moving the pointer one place ahead. Again, there is one more situation where there is a arrow is there. Capital F is on the top of the stack and plus is pointed by the buffer. And then, and if you refer M, F plus, F and plus, so there is again red entries there, right? So actually, why red? See, blue means these are first atoms. Red means follow atoms. Actually, it's a map. You can understand it from first and follow sets. There might be some atoms. You have to wisely put there that follow our first atom. So later. So what I want to say is that it is very hard to generate some error message. See, we know that from the statement plus ID star ID plus ID. So it is a wrong statement. 2 operands are there and 3 operators are there. But what should be the error message? It is a misplace or a forgetting or mismatching of some parentheses that you have to guess. And according to that, you have to write that synchronous function in this blank box. So here it is written possible error message mismatch. I am skipping it, means just skip it. And here secondary is a possible error message missing term, means something. So capital F and plus is there. So you refer here. There is a red. So you have to map some function like SY and CS synchronous. So anyway, I hope you got general idea. See, you have to just visualize some now let us see I'm just I will just I will submit drawbacks. Drawbacks is that panic mode recovery does not address the important issues of the error message. Means whenever there is an encountering of the error in that panic mode mechanism, then it is very hard to guess and print some error message. Means कौन सा type का error है, whether missing of delimiter or match in unmatched parenthesis or something. So that is there. This is drawback. Then compiler designer means the person who writes a compiler, designs a compiler, must supply informative error message. Means he has to use his intelligence कि भाई commonly errors कौन से आते हैं in particular situation, and depending on that, those commonly occurring errors. For example, many times we forget the closing the brackets at the end of some statement or expression. So we can generate some function, write some function, and we can generate some message by missing the parenthesis beginning or opening bracket like. So they must draw the attention to where the errors was discovered. And this method, third point is there, it does not work well in all situations. That's why there is another method we have to consider. This is called as a phrase level method, second method. So this makes the local level correction to the input. On discovering an error, it performs local fix. Means if there is a plus and it is expected that there should be star, so parser takes action and it removes plus and puts star there. That's why it is called as a local correction. And it simultaneously reports error. Means as soon as it parses, during parsing, it generates the error message before completion of the parsing. Again, like that, previously in panic mode, by referring to particular entry into that table, it executes particular function. But it has some limitations. Common programming errors which is easily detected. For example, if there is a semicolon after closing minus, so that kind of error can occur. So we have to guess. Or simple exchange or replace is there. It means semicolon will be replaced with the red color in quotation with the comma, or single equal to we know, and double equal to we know, that is a boolean equal to means a boolean operator, and single equal to means normal arithmetic operator. So sometimes you have to guess and you have to replace equal to with double equal to, like this is kind of some kind of substitution. So that is done on phrase level. So for that phrase level, you have to modify the original grammar, whatever the grammar is there, basic grammar. You have to add some extra non-terminals in that grammar, and you have to handle such error situations like this, means exchanging semicolon with comma, or double equal to sign with double equal to symbol. So we have to add extra non-terminals in the given grammar. So in this way we handle it, and that's why it is called as a local correction method. And again, this has actually this is very complicated, because you are changing shape or design of the original grammar. If you do wrong substitution of some non-terminal for doing such kind of substitution, local corrections, then the entire meaning of the original grammar may get corrupted. So it is difficult and risky. It does not work well. So again, we are just near to end. So there are some common errors that are known to the compiler designers. Means by experience, whatever the compiler design. That's why there are versions. See, if you are using C++, GNU, or whatever, Java compiler or whatever, so every year you get some different versions, 10.1.3 or something like. So what is happening? The errors are reported to the developers and they correct them. So it is a long-term experience, and they upgrade their software just like a Microsoft Windows or something. So what they do, they modify their grammar as per their experience कि भाई लोगों से कौन सा feedback आ रहा है, and depending on that they modify the grammar. And those modified non-terminals which are inserted into original grammar are called as erroneous production rules. These are extra. So in addition to, the designers can create augmented, that's why it is called as augmented grammar, to be used as productions that generate erroneous constructs when these errors are encountered. So add erroneous constructs, non-terminals, into these productions which are common errors. We can augment the grammar for the language at hand, C language, Pascal language, or whatever. Then third point, the parser constructed from augmented grammar by these error productions detect the anticipated errors. These are commonly occurring errors when error productions are used during the parsing. And the parser can then generate the appropriate error diagnostic message. And whatever the programmer is there, he gets idea and he can correct his source code. Only last slide is there, just I'm going to finish it. Drawbacks: works only on common mistakes, frequently occurring mistake. It doesn't work on typical mistakes which are done by programmers in particular situation, maybe calling some function, or there might be some recursive calls again and again to different various function. Means one function is calling to another function, that function is calling to another function. So in this way, some kind of cycle is there. It cannot handle this. essentially makes common errors as a part of grammar, complicates the grammar because we are doing the modifications. Modifying the stack contents has to be done. If you wrongly modify the contents of stack, it may create chaos. And because of that, the parsing method or parsing program may go into some infinite loop. Yes, it will loop. It will not come out of the, it will not end. Anyway, this is last global correction. Actually, it should be 4. Now, what is global correction? It is similar. Empty parsing table entries can now be filled with the appropriate error reporting techniques. Considering the program as a whole to correct nearby program C, there are some parsers or compilers like C. C is a very enhanced as compared to any other language. Means Java is there, or what many languages are there. So what happens is that if you have a wrong program, something is wrong in that source code, maybe in terms of some syntax, the compiler automatically replaces that wrong program. It corrects whole program correct because they have, they already have some experience that expected program should be like this, expected instruction should be in this sequence, like. So that's why there is a PLC compiler implemented. तो ये क्या करते हैं, ये डायरेक्टली ओरिजिनल प्रोग्राम को नियर बाय करेक्ट इमेज में ट्रांसफर करते हैं, होल प्रोग्राम, नॉट सेंटेंस बाय सेंटेंस. Please note this. But it is very complicated and not good idea. It is not successful in everywhere. This is a theoretical concept. It is very hard to implement in full level. But at least in C language, in C compiler, GNU CC, it is implemented on some extent. I am very thankful we have finished the contents. If you want to know something about some part, please send me in WhatsApp what you want to clear or any clarifications. I can address it maybe personally or maybe in some session. But I suggest you to go through all the slides, unit 1 and 2, just understand it. If you understand them in better way, you can understand third unit very easily. Third unit is a little complicated than second unit because there are multiple parsers like LR, SLR parsers we are learning. And I also suggest the CR and NCR to inform those students and fulfill their registration process. I'm very thankful. I hope you listened me, you understood whatever is there. If not understood, just ask me. And nowadays, nobody is sending me screenshots. Please send some screenshots so that I can understand something is going in good way on your side. So I am ending. Thank you.